Between 1971 and 1972, 3 seminal, stellar albums.
Wow.
These guys are prolific, man. I'm telling you, man, they're awesome.
Hey everybody, welcome back in the shed. I'm Troy. This is Dave.
Hello.
And it is hot in the shed. It's about 9 o'clock at night right now, and it's still 92 degrees. We're not sweating, we're glistening right now for sure. Today we're talking about the top 3 car songs. But before we get started, leave your picks below, see if they match ours. Also make sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video. So let's just get rolling. Let's get rolling. What's your number 3 car song?
Well, I'm gonna go with Charlie Ryan and Hot Rod Lincoln.
Well, it's got a Lincoln motor and it's really souped up, and the Model A body makes it look like a pup. It's got 12 cylinders and uses them all with an overdrive that just won't stall.
That song was released in 1955, so it's an early rock and roll song. At the time when it came out, it went to, I think, number 33 on the Billboard chart. And it really kind of tells the tale of a guy that has a Ford Model A with a Lincoln motor in it. And he's on the California highway and he gets in this race with this Cadillac. And, you know, back in the day, that was hot rod culture. Everyone was souping up those motors. If you watch American Graffiti and stuff like that, you know what it's about.
Didn't nobody tell you I was looking for you?
Hey, I can't keep track of all you punks running around here backwards.
Hey, you're supposed to be the fastest thing in the valley, man, but that can't be your car. It must be your mama's car.
In 1971, Commander Cody and the, I think it was Lost Planet Airmen released that song, and it went to, I think, number 8 on the Billboard charts.
San Pedro late one night, the moon and the stars was shining bright. We was driving up Grapevine Hill, passing cars like they was standing still.
It's really a story about reckless youth and pushing the limits, and in the song he ends up, you know, I think beating a Cadillac, but he gets pulled over by the cops.
And I looked in the mirror, red light was blinking, the cops was after my hot rod Lincoln.
In the end, he gets thrown in jail and he asks his dad to throw his bail, and his dad says famously, "Son, you're gonna drive me to drinking if you don't stop driving that hot rod Lincoln."
They arrested me and they put me in jail, and they called my pappy to throw my bail, and he said, "Son, you're gonna drive me to drinking if you don't stop driving that hot rod Lincoln."
Didn't, what's his name? What's the guy? He played at Bosque River Stage here. He plays the guitar like this, has the hat, cowboy hat. What's the guy's name?
Oh, Junior Brown.
Yeah, didn't he play that song? Didn't he?
Probably.
I think he recorded that song too. That sounds like a song he would have
It's
recorded.
been covered a lot. Yeah, I saw that concert.
Yeah, I videoed it.
Did
It
you?
was awesome, yeah.
Yeah.
Junior Brown's awesome.
Him and his wife.
Yeah. My number 3 is the Beach Boys, 409.
She's real fine, my 409, my 409.
I thought you were going to use another Beach Boys song.
Well, there's 2 Beach Boys songs talking about cars. What's the other one?
Don't get me lying, but yeah, I know. There's another one that's definitely.
Well, there were a lot of songs back in.
Yeah, the Beach Boys wrote about surfing and cars.
Yeah, surfing cars and girls, I guess.
Yeah.
California girls.
California girls.
So it was originally released on the B-side of their Surfin' Safari single. Came out in 1962.
Giddy up, 409. Giddy up, 409.
Then they also released it on the album Surfin' Safari and on their album Little Deuce Coupe. Another car song. That's maybe that's the song we were trying to think of.
Yeah, right.
So 409 was inspired by Gary Usher, who was a musician, a producer, and a songwriter who was friends with Brian Wilson back in the day, and they actually wrote that song together. Gary Usher and Brian Wilson actually wrote a bunch of songs for the Beach Boys. Gary Usher had an obsession for hot rods, so he wrote the song with Brian Wilson,
He wasn't alone.
You know, back in the late 50s, early 60s, there were a lot of songs about hot rods.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, if I was living at that time too, man, I would have been obsessed with hot rods, man.
Yeah, I mean, they were taking 32 Ford Coupes, putting these big blocks in there, and then just racing. Like I said, American Graffiti.
Yeah.
Watch that movie, and it's all about that.
So the title refers to an automobile fitted with the Chevrolet 409 cubic inch displacement big block V8 engine, and of course was a big influence on the whole California, you know, hot rod scene going on back in the early 60s.
Save my pennies and I save my dimes. Giddy up, 409. For I knew there would be a time.
What's funny is it only stayed in the top 100 for 1 week.
Oh, really?
And it only reached 76.
Wow.
Giddy up, giddy up. Giddy up, giddy up. Giddy up, giddy up.
I thought it would have been higher than that,
You
to
would
be
think,
honest.
but it wasn't. So that's my number 3. What's your number 2?
All right, my number 2 is Prince, Little Red Corvette.
I guess I should know by the way you popped your car sideways that it wouldn't last.
I almost picked that one. It was almost in my top 3.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite Prince songs, to be honest. Came out in 1983 or so.
Yeah.
And it was on the 1999 album, and it was his second video on MTV. The first one was the video for 1999.
Tonight I'm gonna party like it's 1999.
I remember when that song came out, and to think about 1999 at that time, it seems so far away, and now it's so far away in the
other way.
past.
Yes, yeah, true. You know, that song had some of Prince's standard, I'd call it sexual references. You know, like about this gal who had a pocket full of horses.
Yeah.
Trojans.
Trojan horses, yeah. I wonder what that
Trojans, some of them used. But it was really a song that Prince had released and kind of positioned him as a major rival to Michael Jackson.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that song came out a year before Billie Jean. Rolling Stone, you know, put it as number 118 is one of the greatest songs of all time. Pardon me, we got some bugs flying on my sticky face right here. But this is before Purple Rain, where he really took off. But Little Red Corvette is a cool song, and it's so catchy, and it's so fun, and it's so kind of risque in some ways.
Yeah.
But that's my number 2.
It's a great number 2. A lot of people don't, especially back then, I think they do more now, but didn't really think of Prince as a badass guitar player.
True.
But he is a badass guitar player.
He can play everything. He
Yeah.
played his first album.
He recorded everything by himself,
He
too.
recorded every instrument by
Yeah.
himself.
Yeah.
Prince is multitasker, if there ever was one.
Yeah, I think he's one of those guys that sort of like to sit in the studio by himself and create. Just sort of like leave him alone, let him do his thing. At least back then, maybe later albums. it might
Yeah,
have
he
been
was a
little different.
genius.
So my number 2 is Deep Purple, Highway Star.
Great song.
So it's the opening track on Deep Purple's Machine Head album that came out in 1972. So the song was born because a reporter on the bus asked the band how they write songs. So Richie Blackmore picked up his guitar and started like kind of chugging a G, and Ian
Right.
Gillan just started like making up lyrics.
Because they were cruising down the road.
They were cruising. I guess they were cruising down the road. So they actually sort of refined the song throughout the day, wrote some lyrics to it, and recorded it that night.
No kidding.
Some of the
Performed it or recorded it?
I'm sorry, performed it. They performed it that night.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that just goes to show some of the best songs are written
Off the cuff. That's actually probably my favorite song off the Machine Head album.
Yeah.
Of course, you know, it's a famous album because it's got Smoking and Water. That is a good rockin' drive down the road kind of song.
Yeah, it makes you want to drive fast. When you
Yeah,
crank
yeah,
that sucker up.
Push the limits and hopefully don't kill yourself.
Exactly.
Well, number one is Red Barchetta by Rush.
Uncle has a country place that no one knows about.
Red Barchetta, or Red Barchetta, if you say it properly in Italian, was a story that Neil Peart wrote after he read a story in Road and Track magazine about a nice Sunday drive. And, you know, Neil's such a creative guy, such a smart guy. It's a story about a young guy who went to visit his uncle, and he had this, legendary car in the garage. And it's a futuristic. Oh,
Got
thank
it.
you.
He's
Thank you,
dead.
Troy.
He's dead.
I don't need any more mosquito bites.
Dab break.
Dab break. But Neil wrote the song about, it's a futuristic song about this car and this kid who goes to see his uncle, and he takes it out for a Sunday drive. And it was during what they call the motor law, where you weren't allowed to drive these kind of cars anymore. So he takes it out on a Sunday, and he goes cruising around, and he gets chased by the police who had this gleaming alloy air car, and 2 lanes wide. He has to spin around with shrieking tires and run a deadly race, and he gets to the point where he can lose them at a 1-lane bridge and take it back to his uncle's house, and then, park the car. It has a lot of really, beautiful lyrics, smart lyrics, clever lyrics. It's got a great musicianship in it. I mean, of course, Neil Peart's drumming is awesome. Geddy Lee's bass playing is awesome. And Alex Lifeson's got this cool little chime that he does at the beginning and at the end. And a great lead guitar on there. I think that's the best car song of all time.
It's a good one, but it's not my number one.
What's your number one?
My number one is War, Lowrider.
I love that. And in fact, I thought about it.
So Lowrider was on War's 7th album, Why Can't We Be Friends? That came out in 1975. And of course, it was a #1 hit.
All my friends know the low rider.
So the lyrics and the rhythm, of course, evoke sort of the lowrider
Culture of LA.
Yeah, the Chicano
Yeah.
culture of putting hydraulics on their cars.
On Impalas.
Yeah, and they would they would go down the road bouncing up and down. And of course, Cheech and Chong famously use it in their movie Up in Smoke.
Take a little trip, take a little trip, take a little trip with me.
That's how I remember it.
That's how I remember it too.
Yes.
Exactly.
I was in high school when I went to see that movie. And if you remember the movie, it said, don't go straight to this movie.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Double meaning.
Yeah,
there.
that's great.
But no, we did. We went. And
Did you go straight to the movie, or did you take a detour?
I didn't go straight to the movie. And he gets in his car, and then it's his pride and joy, right? He's got the little chain steering wheel.
Yeah.
It's such a classic movie, and it's such a classic scene, but yeah.
I love that movie. And when I hear that song, I automatically think of Cheech and Chong.
I do too. And it's because, they kind of, War was a big group back then. I love War. I love a lot of their songs.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, is like their top 3 songs.
I remember, in the early 90s when we would cruise around San Saba, late 80s, early 90s, cruise around San Saba.
In your low rider?
Yeah, it wasn't a low rider, but we pretended like it was.
It was a baby blue LTD.
Yeah, well, this was after that. But we would crank that song up and we would like cruise real slow.
Yeah, right.
we pretend like we were Cheech and Chong.
Yeah. So gangsta.
Well, I was the only white guy. So,
right,
yeah.
so.
I was the Chong in the Cheech and Chong
right.
situation.
All right, gotcha.
Hey, man, tacos, how you doing? ¿Qué pasó, hijo de pronto? No se pendejos, man. Don't miren.
But it's also been featured on so many movies and TV shows like Dazed and Confused, The Simpsons. George
Really?
Lopez show used it as his theme song. It's a great song. You still hear it on classic rock radio today. I love it, man, and that's my #1.
All right, great #1.
And that is our top 3 car songs. Leave your picks below. Also, make sure to subscribe to the channel, get you some merch. We got a link down below, and we'll see you next time in the shed.
Adios.